Hi guys, welcome back to Liking Hiking. So today I'm going to be reviewing the Cedar Summer Ultralight Insulated Sleeping Mat. So I just thought I would go into some of the specs first. So this mat sells for $140 to $190 depending on where you get it from and whether it's on a good sale or not. So it has an R value of 3.3. So basically R value is how they measure the resistance in the mat between the cold of the ground coming up through the mat and getting you cold. So how much like resistance is in there. So a 3.3 is pretty average. It's not really high, it's not really low, but we'll get into like what temperature I found comfortable in a little while. So this mat has a thickness of about 5 centimeters, which is pretty decent when it's inflated. It also comes in 4 different sizes. So there's the extra small, which is kind of like a torso length or a child size. And then there's the small, the regular, and the large. So I have the small mat, which is just a tiny bit longer than I am. So it fits me perfectly. So the weights of this mat is fairly light. So for the extra small, it's 349 grams. For comparison, the large is 595 grams. So there's a little bit of difference within the ultralight insulated range. So I just thought I'd share some of my experiences with it. One of the common complaints is that it can be really noisy, but I don't really find it an issue at all. I don't really notice that it's noisy compared to any other like blow up mattress that you might have. My other experiences have been great. I have found there's been a big difference between the temperature when I'm sleeping on the sleeping mat and like if I shove my arm out or whatever, or I roll off and I'm on the ground. So I can really see that R value coming into play. One experience I have had though is when it got down to about -5 or -6, I was quite cold. So that's in my -5 sleeping bag. On this mat, I was quite cold. However, any temperatures, you know, down to 0 degrees Celsius have been absolutely fine on this mat with a -5 degrees sleeping bag for me. I do sleep fairly cold, so if you're a warm sleeper, you'd probably be able to go a bit colder than that. But for Australian temperatures, a great mat because you're not likely to get any colder than that. Overall though, I found a really comfortable mat. I'm a side sleeper, so those tiny little thin foam mats are just no good for me. It's so uncomfortable, I just can't sleep. And as you know, like when you're hiking overnight, a good sleep is invaluable. So I really find that this mat is nice and comfortable. I can roll over. I cannot feel like my hip on the ground or my shoulder or anything like that. The little cells, the little air cells really keep you off the ground. So it looks like from my research I've just done today that they're starting to include a pump sack of some sort in with the mat. So I bought this Airstream. No, it's not an Airstream. I bought this Jetstream pump sack separate from the mat. They do go together. However, I think you either get something similar to this or a stuff sack that you fill with air and roll down to pump up with your mat now. So that might be something worth looking into if you're looking at buying one of these. But this one here, you just hook into the little valve. So it's got the mat has 2 valves, one for intake and one for deflate. So it's got the one-way valve for inflating, and then you just hook that on there and just like pump air. And it doesn't take very long at all, it's done in no time. And then the deflate, you just pull the deflate tab and instantly it's like, phew, there is no air left in that. Saddest thing in the morning. So overall my experience with this mat has been amazing. I think it is worth all the money that I spent on it. So you can buy some cheaper air mattresses that will be like this, that don't have the insulation in them. So they will be a lot colder to sleep on because there's nothing really to protect you from the cold ground coming up from underneath your tent floor. So I thought I'd go into some of the other similar type sleeping mats that you can get, especially in the Cedar Summit range, because they do have a full-on range. So they have the ultralight sleeping mat. So that's the same version as this, but it's uninsulated. So that does not have an R value at all. And then they go all the way up to the Comfort Plus Insulated, which has an R value of 5. So that would be quite warm. In fact, I would say that would probably be unnecessary for most situations, especially in Australia. So obviously the Comfort Plus is a lot bigger. It's got double-sided intake, so you can blow up one half and then the back half, and that way, you know, if you get a puncture in one, then you're not going to hit the ground. It also helps with that insulation. In terms of weight, the Comfort Plus one does get up to 715 grams. So personally for me, I think that is too heavy for carrying in a backpack, especially for the more moderate temperatures we see here in South Australia through winter. So guys, if I was going in a bit more of a colder climate, whereas like I thought it would be getting below zero, so I'd put a closed foam cell pad underneath this pad here, and that would add to the R value and make it warmer. So that's just a short overview and summary of how I've found the Sea to Summer Ultralight Insulated mat. In conclusion, I think this mat is great because it provides a happy medium in comfort, price, and warmth, R value, so warmth and insulation. So thanks guys, I hope you found this informative, and let me know your thoughts about sleeping mats and what your favourite sleeping mat is in the comments down below. And as always guys, keep on liking hiking.